Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday and a great week. Two things I wanted to cover today. One is the primaries that happened last night, more so for the Democrats, and the SpaceX Q3 earnings report. I'll start with SpaceX, and I'm going to give some of my opinion. There's Pepper. I'm going to give some of my opinion, and this is not financial advice. Do your own research, all the other things. This is just my personal opinion. So, as expected, the I would say the earnings report was interesting in a couple different areas. Um, Having followed Elon and Tesla. I would say, actually, I would say Tesla and then Elon. Um, I've kind of become accustomed to the forward-looking statements that Elon makes, and I think where people miss the boat is that he delivers on everything that he says. Now, does he deliver in the time frame in which he says? Um, Generally delayed by 6 months to a year, in some cases 2 years, but nonetheless he delivers, and this is why Tesla stock is at where it is. And most people probably don't even realize that the current price of Tesla stock is based on two separate stock splits. And so if you were one of some of the original investors in the pre 2020 timeframe, or even pre 2019, you may have gotten like 10 shares, and now those 10 shares have turned into a lot of shares. Yeah, and the stock is, I mean, it's insane. But at any rate, um, a couple of things I wanted to highlight on the earnings call. One was the 100 million ARR, that's annually recurring revenue, goal or target that they set for end of this year. Now, that goal didn't come from Elon. That goal came from the CFO. And so the CFO is making forward guidance saying that they're going to do $100 million by the end of 100 million ARR. That's annually recurring revenue by the end of this year. Elon then comes in over the top and says, that is a minimum. We're probably going to do more than that. So if you're looking at where the current valuation of the company is, based on current revenue, which, by the way, grew 93% year over year, just in Q3. The valuation seems very low. Now, they also talked about or at least Elon said that their goal, or their forecasting for hitting $1 trillion in ARR in 2030. And there's a high chance that they may actually hit that in 2029. Now, take that for what you will. Even if they don't hit 1 trillion by 2029 and they miss it by, let's say, $200 million, and they're doing, let's say, 800 million in ARR by 2029, again, this company is seriously undervalued. And given how fast they're growing, I don't think people, I mean, even myself, it's like they're growing so fast. It's like orders of magnitude faster than other companies that I've tracked before. And this leads to something else that they said that goes along with how fast they're growing. So people are caught up in this CapEx spend number of 18 million, or 18 billion. Sorry, they're working on large numbers. And like, I understand generally why people are looking, oh, they're spending so much money. Meanwhile, Amazon and Microsoft and all these other companies are spending a ton of capex as well, building out infrastructure, just trying to keep up with demand for AI. Now, the demand from SpaceX seems exponentially higher, hence the relationships that they have with other AI companies to use SpaceX compute. And so, at any rate, they're saying 18 billion. They also said, and this came from the CFO, not from Elon, that they have a 12-month RO return on investment for the capex spend, which is insane. And so the money that they're spending now, they're getting back immediately, essentially, as they turn on this additional compute in these data centers, which is kind of crazy. Again, they're growing substantially. They also talked about one thing I found very interesting, and also um, started to hit certain other stocks as this was talked about, which was SpaceX right now is providing cellular internet access, and cellular high speed internet access based on their current generation of Starlink satellites. The new generation of satellites are going to be launching out of or off of the Starship, and they're launching 10 times the connectivity out of one Starlink satellite, the new ones that are going, which are V3, I think, or V4. It's this latest version. Doesn't matter. Point is that the individual satellites are offering 10 times the connectivity of one current generation of all the Starlink satellites that are out there now. So each one is offering 10 times more, and they're able to launch 10 times as many, or they're able to launch magnitudes more, orders of magnitude more into space, which means that they'll be able to take on more customers, but also means they're going to start to look at other services in which they can offer outside of internet, which is cell service. And so AT&T and Verizon stocks, as soon as that was talked about, started to take a hit. And I I think people underestimate the fact that SpaceX may become the backbone of the internet very quickly. And traditional internet providers, like I've got Google at my house. In order to get Google, or not, sorry, not Google. I have AT&T fiber at my house. Google also has a line outside as well. But Google and AT&T and these other companies, Spectrum, have to spend a ton of money to deliver service to new areas. Now, it's much easier for them to do it in neighborhoods like mine, where they're new developments, so they can actually just run it before the houses are even built, which makes their lives a lot easier than having to navigate existing infrastructure to put down internet cables, fiber optic cables within these neighborhoods. Now, as SpaceX is able to deliver the same levels of bandwidth that fiber is doing right now, it's going to be significantly cheaper to buy it from them, mainly because they don't have the same cost overheads that these traditional ground-based internet providers do. And so that's going to open up a whole new market. Um, I'm a little apprehensive about getting satellite-based anything because I've had DirecTV in the past. I want to see um, how essentially it works in storms, dense cloud coverage, things like that, where DirecTV didn't work so well and would go out constantly when there were storms. But all that to say, like, they're going after a significant portion of the market. I think the existing um, like AT&T, Verizon, Spectrum kind of space is around $600 billion right now. And so my broader point is this: there are a lot of people that I follow that are just rah about SpaceX stock. There are also people that I follow that take a more skeptical approach to Elon and the businesses in general. Um, and they're in the wait and see. I want to wait and see for the price to go lower before I make an investment. And then there's the people that just are putting out complete FUD. I listen to all of these people to kind of look at where the truth is in the broader conversation. I mean, the numbers are out there; they speak for themselves. Again, context, I think, around following Elon's other businesses provides some insight into where SpaceX is going. And if you've been following SpaceX, as I have been, just from rocket launches, then you can already see where the company is and how there is no real competition in this space. And so you can wait to invest in SpaceX, or you can buy in now. And if it dips, you can buy the dip and cost average down. That's what I'm doing. Um, I got what I think two shares or one. I had two different accounts. One of the accounts got I think 10 shares or something, and I had asked for 100, and another account I had asked for 10, and I got one. So in both of those accounts, I've since scaled up, and the larger account I've scaled up to, uh, I think, 800 shares at this point of SpaceX. And if it goes below $100, I'm going to be buying. If it goes down more, I'll be buying again. Again, me personally, I can see the long-term vision of this company, and I can also see the eventual merger between SpaceX and Tesla. It's inevitable. It's just a matter of when. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's interesting nonetheless. I don't know how you guys feel about SpaceX, but just want to talk about that. The other thing that I want to talk about was more specifically the races in which um, were won and lost last night. Abdul El Sayed um, and Corey Bush. Um, what I find interesting about how essentially these DSA candidates are winning, um, they're in pretty broad races, right? Or there's a number of people that are also that are in these races, and there are people that are drawing more. I would say there, in short, there's kind of two sides to who is running in these races. There's traditional Democrats, of which there are many that tend to run, and then there's a single DSA candidate. And you can go all the way back to the um, Mamdani win. Um, Andrew Cuomo, Brad Lander, and Adrian Adams, as well as Scott Stringer, who were running in the Democrat primary, sucked all of the traditional Democrats, of which there were more of them than there were for Mamdani from the DSA side. But since there were all of these candidates, Andrew Cuomo, Brad Lander again, who sucked most of the vote, and then you had a smaller portion from Adrian Adams and Scott Stringer, that was enough to get Mamdani the nomination. And once Mamdani got the Democrat nomination, he was able to use the Democrat machine within New York City and New York State more broadly to ultimately get him across the line. Now, in the general election, Andrew Cuomo ran, and he ran as an independent. Mamdani got 50.8% of the vote in New York City in the general election. Andrew Cuomo got 41.3%, and Curtis Salwa or Sliwa, I should say, got 7%. Now, there was conversation around Sliwa dropping out and endorsing Cuomo, or Cuomo dropping out and endorsing Sliwa. If either one of those things had happened, I would say more likely if Curtis Sliwa had have dropped out, um, and endorsed Andrew Cuomo, it is highly probable that Andrew Cuomo would have won that race. Um, Again, traditional Democrats, 41% in New York City voted for Andrew Cuomo. And the few Republicans that chose to go to the polls, which, by the way, I think there are more Republicans in New York City than people think. But they just assume that their vote doesn't matter because it's such a dense um, Republican area, that it actually suppresses the Republican vote. But at any rate, if Sliwa had have dropped out, endorsed Cuomo, Cuomo would have been over the line at 51%. And so the idea that Mamdani won on this mandate is just not, it's just not real. And I think, the majority of Democrats that are in the city and even Republicans, like if regular people want to win New York City back, they need to come together. If Cuomo and Sliwa had have come together, Mamdani's candidacy would have never succeeded. Now you look at Wesley Bell and Cori Bush. Now, Cori Bush already had lost her seat. And so Wesley Bell was the incumbent. So it had incumbent energy in there. And so there was less likely of a chance of Cori Bush unseating the incumbent. And that was more to do with the fact that regular people want a regular candidate to represent them. This wasn't like a non-incumbent versus another non-incumbent. Cori Bush had already won, and then people said, "Oh, hell no," and then got her out. And now they're backing a traditional kind of Democrat, which is Wesley Bell. Now on to Abdul El Sayed. So what I find interesting about that race is um, it's clear that I would say the pollsters and I I will just say the pollsters. The pollsters had this race completely wrong, and I don't know why. I can speculate, but I'll leave that for a conspiracy theory video. But the the margin that they had Al Sayed up by was like 10 points over Haley Stevens. Um, this race has been called at 48.5% for El Sayed and 47.5% for Haley Stevens. So this race was much, much closer than people estimated. And the only reason that Haley Stevens did not win this race was because Mallory McMorrow dropped out way too late. Now, again, this is very similar to what happened in New York City, where you had traditional Democrats running against a DSA candidate and essentially splitting out the vote so that the DSA candidate actually became the nominee. Now, there is definitely an argument here that if Mallory McMorrow hadn't have run or had have dropped out way sooner and was never listed on the ballot and just backed Haley Stevens, that this Abdul El Sayed would not have won. You can just look at the numbers. The 4% would have put Haley Stevens over the top to win this race. And so, again, it doesn't seem like this is a mandate. I also think Michigan is dealing with a significant population of, let's just say, Muslims that are in the region that are going to pull for a Muslim candidate, regardless. Um, Now, I would say if Michigan wants to get its state back, it would start enforcing some kind of immigration policy, or just letting the administration do its thing. Um, I think generally this speaks to a broader issue of how people coming into the U.S. aren't assimilating into the broader U.S. People don't realize there was a long period of time where immigration was extremely low, which got a whole bunch of people to essentially um, just become, like, they were forced to become kind of Americans, and assimilation happened. Then you have like this mass import of people through the late 80s into the 90s. Once you have the Middle East kind of getting upset, first Desert Storm, then you have the Iran issues and all that stuff. So all of that kind of leads up to just a mass influx of people from those regions. But they're not generally assimilating, and so they're becoming a subpopulation within these places. You can look at places in Texas where you have massive amounts of Indian populations living there, specifically from one or two areas in India. We have the same thing here in North Carolina. I mean, where I live, um, I'm a minority on the block that I live in. It's almost all Indian, and everybody knows each other. Great people, whatever. But I wouldn't say they're necessarily assimilating. It's like one family moved in, and then other family members moved in and bought houses, and now other people from where their families are from are moving in. So it's very similar to what's happening, or what has happened in Texas. You also have this in New Jersey, where there's a dense population of Indians in New Jersey. Now in Minnesota, you have, or not Minnesota, well, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, you have a lot of influx of Middle Eastern populations into those areas, which is now skewing that entire kind of voter base, which is why, by the way, you have local politicians, non-Muslims, um, putting up the flag or having representation. It's kind of like the same thing you see in like inner cities where politicians are going to Baptist churches to pander, because the populations there are pretty high. Instead of just running I want to serve all, they're kind of just pandering to this base of people because they need their vote, which is exactly what's happening in Michigan. But now, instead of traditional I would say non-Muslim candidates running and then pandering to that audience, they're just getting displaced by first generation candidates, and so you're going to start to see this more and more in these areas, and you can actually see it in some of the races, where there were Indian candidates that ran, or minority candidates that ran, that you wouldn't traditionally see. Again, to the point, Abdul El Sayed is more of it's a foreshadowing of where Michigan is going. I'm not sure how much longer, as the population of specifically Muslims goes up within Michigan and just the surrounding areas, how much longer there's room for traditional Democrats like Haley Stevens and Mallory McMorrow to run. But this was probably honestly the last chance in this particular region where traditional Democrats had a chance to win over a DSA candidate, because now that Abdul El Sayed is in, the Democrat establishment is going to have to embrace him, and it's going to make it very hard for an incumbent to unseat him. Um, so we'll see. We'll see. I think the next mayor race is going to be very interesting in New York City. I think that will actually foreshadow, and I think if Democrats are smart, they won't run multiple candidates. They will, um, do what they do best, which is control the apparatchiks within the region. They will try to, or may try to unseat Mamdani with a more centrist or more moderate Democrat candidate. Or they might actually, let's see, run a Republican, and you might have more of the wealthy individuals within the city who are probably more on the Jewish side, supporting a non-Mamdani candidate, including a Republican. Um, we'll see. We'll see. I think it's interesting, but the takeaway from last night's races is that if you're an incumbent, a traditional Democrat incumbent, the machine wants to make sure that you stay in, and they want to keep these DSA candidates out. But if there is no incumbent, the DSA candidates are able to drive turnout. And the only way that traditional Democrats can win in those kind of races is to slim the field. By the way, wait for the 2028 election cycle for the Democrat side. It's going to be stupid. It's going to be absolutely stupid. It's going to be probably like 12 people deep, spanning a whole bunch of people that shouldn't be running in the first place, which will just make it very difficult to coalesce around a single candidate. On the Republican side, it's going to be very interesting, because what Tucker Carlson wants to talk about running, nobody on the MAGA side, which is now the majority of the Republican Party, wants to see Tucker Carlson anywhere near this. Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, no interest whatsoever, no matter how many moderate Democrats have a fever dream. I'm looking at you, Jay Cal, about Tucker running. It's going to be potentially Marco Rubio and JD Vance. The field is going to be, my guess, much smaller. Right now, JD Vance has the edge. Personally, I'd prefer to see JD Vance in, and Marco Rubio is doing a killer job in his role. I would love to have JD run and then keep the current cabinet that's there, as well as maybe entice someone like a Tulsi Gabbard to come back. Hopefully, now that her husband is going through his treatment, and it sounds like it's going well, and there's gonna be remission there. But RFK staying where he's at, like, I would not like to see an upset of the current cabinet that's in there, because I think they're doing a killer job. And similar to like the last election cycle, or the 2020 election cycle where Trump lost, it was disappointing because you weren't able to see kind of the trajectory of the second half of what Trump could do. Instead, we had to go through 4 years of Biden and open borders and high inflation and all this stuff to get Trump elected a second time, or a third, for those that believe that. But nonetheless, if Democrats, I think the point that I want to get at is, if Democrats want to start winning these elections against DSA candidates, they need to coalesce around a single candidate, and then put the machine behind it. Otherwise, they're going to continue to lose to DSA candidates by having such a broad field. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, keep believing that the best is still ahead for America. Peace.